everyone, welcome to the second part of this very mini video series. This is from Nightfall by Trolle. Now in the last video you can see we did our hyacinths, our whatever they were called, Celia Forbasi, the leaves and our bees. So we're going to do our tulips today and the background and get it finished. There's not lots to do really, so we start with we're going to start with all the tulips. We're not going to do them one at a time, so I'm going to come in like that. They're big enough so you should be able to see. There we go. So I'm going to do them pink, whoops, a lightish pink. So I'm going to start with the rose pink and do the bottom parts of each petal. So I'm just going to layer it up down here at the bottom and then start to fade it towards the top, and then we've got another pink to do the tops in a bit. So I'm just going to do the same on every petal, so it's going to be repetitive, but that's okay. I'm going to actually talk you through my ideas for the sky, the background. Now I'm going to do something with soft pastels, so it's going to be quite straightforward and quick, but my thoughts with this book is it's called Nightfall, so should all these pictures be nighttime? But then we've got the bees, and they don't come out at night. So I was thinking, what do we do? You know, do we do a night sky, which I'm not really used to colouring. I don't know if you galaxy skies, I guess, but not. So, but I didn't feel it would work really with these spring flowers, so we're going to do a blue sky. I just feel it's going to look prettier. So that was my decision with that. That was my thinking. We're going to do the sky. I'm not going to use my cloud template. I'm going to keep it even simpler than that. I'm just going to splodge some little areas of blue and leave some white to look a bit like cloud, and hope it works. And then we're going to do something special with our spider web. I've got some pan pastels now. I've only bought 3. I bought the gold, which we're not going to be using. I bought the silver and a pearl one. Now the silver is very, very pale, and the pearl one just gives this sort of pearlescent look to the page, which is really pretty. So I'm going to use one or the other of those on the spider web first as a sort of background. I'll try one and see if it works, and if it doesn't, I'll use the other. And then so I'll play around with that a little bit. We might put, and then we're going to put something on these dots, these little dots and the lines on the spider web. I've got a mixture of ideas. So the azalea pink is what I'm going to do for the rest of the petal. So I'm going to go over the edge of this pink and then fade it up almost to the tip. Or you could take it right to the tip, it's up to you. Because we're doing a background with pastel, there is a risk that the pastel is going to smush over the tip of our tulips and turn them blue. So as a final step, I'm going to put a little bit of white on the tip of each tulip and hope that that will help to resist the pastel. So I will be doing that in a minute, once I've done all my pink work, one step at a time. I find doing one colour at a time, it just speeds things up for me and helps just keeping me with a methodical way of doing things. I don't get in a mess and a muddle. I enjoy it, you know, all those things. But I know some people find it dull using the same colour for a long time. They want to swap and change, that's fine. If you would rather do one tulip at a time, then do it your way. You know, you now know what we're doing. But I find keep swapping pencils all the time. Not only can it take time, I find I can get muddled and pick up the wrong one. Goodness, yesterday I was colouring something disaster. I started colouring this, what I thought was a stem, in a very deep green. It was a terre verde colour, actually. It was a Castle Art set. And I got part of the way through and I realised it was actually a tree trunk, so it shouldn't have been that colour. I finished the colour. I tried going over it with a brown. It looked absolutely terrible. So then I erased it and it smudged it all over the page. I tried a different eraser, so I'm putting some white on the tips. I tried a different eraser. It didn't work, so my picture just ended up in a big smudgy mess. And when you watch my completed pages video on the, when would it be, Sunday, you'll see it. And it's awful. But I don't want to hide and pretend that I haven't, you know, that all my pictures go well. They don't. It was fine. I learnt a lesson, and yeah. So I think my rubber was really dirty. My eraser, sorry, was really dirty. So that didn't help matters. So I was not only smudging the pencil that was already down on the paper, but also the stuff that was on the eraser already. So it was just awful. Right, I am going to choose the leaf green middle for my stems, I think. Is it a bit bright? Yeah, no, I'm not going to. I've lied. Sorry, put it away. Leaf green, that's going to work better. Leaf green. Okay. So stems first. I thought I was going to do these dark, but sort of changed my mind really. I quite like the idea of them being fairly light. No, just got to work out down here where it is, and I'm going to try and layer it up a bit at the bottom, and if it needs darkening a bit more I'll just grab a darker pencil, but I'll see how it looks. So we've got quite a mix of colour down here anyway, going between the flowers and things. We might not want to put down, make it too dark. And it would probably be dark, but why make it realistic? I know some people really like to try and make things really realistic. It's not easy. And you'd have to get rid of all these black lines, because there's no black lines in real, is there? It does make a big difference, to be honest, whiting out the black lines, but you have to white them out and then cover over the white, because it wouldn't be white either, and that's quite a skill. I find that quite tricky. Not all pens are very good for it. Now we have our cobweb here. These bits I'm going to do in pen and gel pen, so they will cover over any colour. So I'm just going to colour right over it. Okay, bit of a spoiler alert there. I was going to keep that a secret. Don't know which gel pen they do you? Nor do I. Okay, I'm just going to try and even that up a little bit. Now here we haven't got much definition between leaf and stem, so we'll work with the slightly darker pencil in a minute to create that, because I think it just looks a little bit too sort of all blended together. But we'll get a layer down over here and then we'll grab a darker pencil. Oh, that hyacinth look, I haven't done its stem. Terre verde, there we go. I left them out just in case. I must have known in my head that I'd made a mistake. Well, it's not a mistake, is it? There we go. Easily fixed. And even if I'd coloured over it with this, it wouldn't have been a big disaster. No, I'm not submitting this to the Tate for their art gallery exhibition. It's just for me and you. And it can be tricky. Sometimes we get very frightened about ruining a picture. I absolutely know that feeling myself. You get your new book, you look through it, you find the picture, a picture jumps out at you that's your favourite. And it's the one you really want to colour. It's the one you bought the book for. But do you colour it? No. Do you ever colour it? Maybe not. I do, but maybe, you know, but it's really tricky, isn't it? Now, I used to say to people, take a copy, practice, and then do it. But actually, that's against the copyright of the book. You aren't allowed to photocopy the pages. It's not allowed. So don't do that. But you could practice on some scrap paper. You could roughly draw out some of the main elements of the page. That would scare me more than colouring it in, to be honest. But if you are good at drawing, I'm just trying to find a colour, a contrast colour. I'm going to go for the permanent green. There it is. So yeah, you could draw, say, just draw a rough leaf. You know, she says as if it's easy. It's not. I'm just going to put a little bit to create a darker section. I'm going to make it a little bit darker at the bottom because I think it would be. And then here I'm going to go along the edge of this stem, on the outside of the stem, on the edge of my leaf, and then fade that in a little bit. Same on this side, just along the edge of it to make it look, to make hopefully the stem then stands out a bit. And I'm also going to make this stem a bit darker up here, like that. So we'll do the same with this one, just make it a bit darker at the top, just for consistency. But also, if there's a book you're not scared of that has a similar page, picture, flower, practice in that one, you know. So I know some books are more daunting than others. I think it's partly to do with how the pictures look, partly to do with the price of the books as well. And if you've done a picture in there that you really like, you might feel like you don't want to ruin the rest of the book. You can't ruin a book, you know. I know some people glue pages together if it all goes horribly wrong. I think that's a little bit extreme. I prefer to look at my mistakes and learn from them. But I know that's difficult as well for some. Just trying to get the whole page in shot now. There we go. Because we're going to start our sky. I'm just looking to make sure I've coloured everything. Yeah. Did I do the white on all of the tulips? I don't remember doing it on them. Yeah, I can see it actually. Right, we're going to start with some soft pastels and choose the blue for the sky. That's our first task. So here are the blues. I'm going to grab a washable cloth, cotton cloth to use. That's one I've used for some. There we go. Okay. Now this picture is quite light. If I do this sky really dark, I think it's going to overwhelm. I'm also wondering what to do down here because there's not going to be sky under here. I think I might just put a bit of green under there and then sky around here, but I might just start with the sky. I'm going to use the second one in, so not the very lightest, but the next one along. So you're going to turn that around so I can reach it better. Just put some onto your cloth like that, and then just do an area like that. Oops, this bee is on top of a bit of blue. Do it here. As it fades a bit on your cloth, that's okay. You can do a different area with a faded bit. Don't forget to go in here on our spider web as well. Now, It's a little tricky doing this because you have to remember that the negative space that we've left is our cloud, and what we're colouring is the sky. Often we would do it the other way. I just need to make sure it sort of looks right. I think it's okay. I tend to leave not too much white, just a few bits, and try and put down the blue, sometimes dark, sometimes light, to make it look like our sky is just a bit of a mix of colour. It's quite a bit easier then. You can make it look a bit rough and ready. But remember to go right down and in between things, or else it looks a bit weird. This one is a bit dark compared to all the rest. Actually, that bit's fairly dark as well. I'll just darken a few other patches, just so it looks a bit less odd. Yep, I'm happy. It's just this bottom bit. I think I'm going to leave it blank. I think if I do it in green, it's going to look a bit strange. I'll just put a bit of blue here. Yeah, I'm going to leave it. If it looks really weird by the end, then maybe we'll put something there. But to be honest, I think I'm pretty much done with that. Right. Next, I'm going to work from top to bottom with my gel pens. So that, oh no, next is my spider web. Now within the centre of this web part, I want to make it look like it's sort of shiny. Now I've got my two pan pastels that I spoke about. This is the pearl one and this is the silver one. I'm going to try the silver one. It's really, really faint. It looks quite dark grey, but it actually isn't when you use it. Now I've got a different sponge which I've just been using for this, but I just use these cloths the same as I do for everything else. And I'm just going to apply it in that area. Now on top of the blue other pastel, I think it's going to work okay. And just put it in here. And what that has done is it's slightly blurred our web, which isn't a problem because we're going to go over that with a pen. But it's given us a sort of shiny, slightly greyed area, which is what I was after. So that's good. If you don't have the these pearlescent pan pastels, you could use a white. I would think that would work, or a light grey. But I wanted it to be semi see-through. I can still see that that's got blue behind it and that over here there isn't. So, but that's up to you. Now I need a piece of paper to lean on. Got a bit here. Oh, there we go. So that when I'm starting to apply my pens and things, I don't get... this pan pastel I find comes off really easily compared to the other pastels. I haven't used it much, so I'm not sure whether I need to always use a fixative or not. But I don't like using fixatives because they smell so nasty. This is number 700, the Gellyroll pen. Now this is like glitter glue. So when I put it over this, you'll still see the grey underneath. I thought I'd run out then. I've got a few spares of these, but not in here. So you'll still see the grey underneath at certain angles, but when it catches the light, you'll see this shine. I rather like giving bees a shiny wing, and we'll do the same with these two as well. Now you could use this on the spider web as well, but I'm not. I'll show you a few other options for spider web and then the one that I'm going for. So just finish off these wings first. I find a mixed media approach can be Good fun. Although yesterday I was colouring something and I didn't want to use white pen and I was leaving white gaps. It was a real experiment. It was really, it's different. Okay, so I have some possibilities. This is a Dove Craft 3D Pearl Effect paint, and it's got a nib like a Stickles, and I could put little blobs on each of these circles and they would stand up from the page, and that looks quite cool, but I've got a picture on the back that I want to colour. So if I did that, then I would have a hard blob to try and colour on the back of, and that doesn't work very well for me. So another option would be to use my Stickles. These are the diamond Stickles. They're really, really pretty. You can see how shiny they are. Maybe on these circles. Again, the Stickles stick up quite a bit on the page, so they would be quite hard to colour over. So I haven't got much left, have I? I think it's a fair bit more than it looks. So I'm not going to use those for this one. Also, I want the same on the lines as on the dots, and with Stickles I'm not going to be able to get a nice thin line, even though you get your point. It isn't very thin compared with a pen, which is what I'm going to use. Now I could choose, I've got my Gelly-Rolls here, and I could either choose a glitter or a metallic. I've decided that because I've got glitter on the wings of the bees, I want to use a glitter, and I'm going to use a silver glitter. I don't think there's any other colour you could use. I'm just going to check that's definitely silver, because it doesn't, yeah, it always looks blue to me. So I'm just going to work through putting this on all of the lines of the spider web. It's going to take a little bit of time to do, and I'm still going to work from top to bottom because it's the way you can stop you smudging your pen. I have smudged glitter pens a lot. They're very unforgiving. Once you've smudged gel, it's really difficult to remove it. Posca Pen, a little easier. You can scratch it off a little bit with your fingernail or with a blending pencil or something like that, but glitter pens, no. You know, you've got that glue on there and it's pretty permanent, which is probably what you want in a way, but you know, it means you can't do it wrong, which makes them a bit scary, but I'm getting more confident. Now if you don't have a glitter pen, another idea, if you don't have any of the things that I suggested, or I'm going to work from left to right so I don't forget anything. I think if I do it methodically, I'm more likely to remember. If you don't have any of those things or didn't like any of those ideas, you can use a silver pencil. Some sets have silver pencils, polychromos, and things like that. If you don't have a silver pencil, a plain graphite pencil can be quite shiny. So that's another idea. A lighter one, if you've got one, you know, an HB, which is a standard pencil, might be a little bit dark. If you've got a slightly harder pencil, it will come out lighter. So that's another thing to consider. Or you can just go over it with a black pen if you want it to be bold. Yeah, there's lots of possibilities depending on what you've got in your colouring arsenal. I saw a great joke the other day. Was it Sarah Rennie Clark maybe shared it, and it was something about buying new colouring things. I want this, I want that, but I've got a problem. I now have to buy a new pencil case to fit it all in. You know, it's like, yeah, I think we all have those sorts of problems where we, and also the problem of not having enough time to use it all. But there's always something new on the market that looks good or that you've just discovered, isn't there? New books, new pens, new pencils, shiny things. but it's fun as well, isn't it? It's exciting getting new things. I've just ordered myself something actually this morning. It's not a colouring thing though. What? It's not a colouring thing, no. It's a book. But I was reading a book. It was by Tim Spector called Identically Different. It's 10 years old actually. So some of the research in it I felt was a little bit outdated. I felt I'd read more recent findings. It's basically about environment and genetics and being an identical twin and having twins. I find it all quite fascinating. So my sister bought it me for my birthday. But it's about epigenetics and how you know different things can affect you, not just your genes, your environment, and how genes can be sometimes switched on and off by environmental impacts. So like for example, if your mother was starving when she was pregnant, then you tend to have a higher chance of being overweight because your body has experienced famine and so wants to hold on to all the food in case that happens again, that sort of thing. So even things that happen sort of outside of your control, and it can even be if it happens to your grandmother, it can even carry on to you, your maternal grandmother. So there's less research in fathers, but anyway, it was quite interesting, but a little bit scary that, you know, it's too late now, that things I might have done when I was pregnant could have affected my grandchildren and I didn't, you know, which is, you don't want to dwell on that, do you? I think I did everything I thought was right at the time and everything I could. So I guess you have to just move on from that. You can't keep worrying about it. You know, we were told to eat this, that and the other, to not eat nuts, to try and prevent allergies, and now they're saying that maybe we should be eating nuts to prevent allergies. You know, I'm just looking to see if I've covered it all, and I think I have. But now I'm going to do the bottom. I'm going to come in a little more for the bottom because I'm going to do some white, and all I was doing there was following lines, so you didn't really need to watch. But here I'm doing white, so I want to show you what I'm doing. I've got a Posca. I think it'll work with a Posca. And what I'd like to do with these, I'm going to do some dots in the middle around. I just think they need prettying up. With these, I'm going to do those white lines that I said I saw. It's sort of all around the bottom of each bit. This is a little bit thick, this pen, but I think it's going to be okay. The thinner tips tend to clog a bit, so I was actually using some, again you'll see in my completed pages, I was using some Posca pens for something the other day and they were really misbehaving. It was just a mandala, and I thought I'll try out different pens on this paper to show you, and I'll talk you through it when I do my video. I haven't recorded it yet. And the Poscas were absolutely useless, really rubbish, and it was so frustrating. I thought I'd run out, and it hadn't. I just had to shake it every like I did a bit the size of this, a little bit of this flower, and then I had to shake it. It was just like so frustrating. I nearly gave up, but I did give up actually, which is very unlike me. I swapped pens part the way through, and then the next set of pens I was using were okay, and then I thought if I swap pens again and try another set, just, you know, so we know what works and what doesn't work, and the other set actually ran out, and I was like, oh my god. this is not going as planned. Anyway, fortunately this picture is, so that's good. But yes, I've ordered a new book, and it's a book by Joe Middleton, and called, I think it's called Playgroups and Prosecco. Now I don't drink, but I still can understand why a lot of mothers do, and I think it just looks, she's very funny, so I'm hoping it's going to be a funny book. So she can be a bit rude, but grr. Look at this, can you see these? They've gone pink. I didn't intend those dots to be pink, I intended them to be white, but obviously one of those pinks, must be the rose pink, leaches into white. I usually test for that. That's very odd because it doesn't on my test sheet. Because I do it on here, I always put a blob of white to test whether it whether it turns it pink. And it doesn't on there, but it has. Ah, that's not rose pink, is it? Of course, that's lavender light. Yes, never mind. So we've got light pink dots. At least they haven't gone too neony, which sometimes happen. So I think I am done. So let's come out so you can see. Let's zoom out a little bit. There we go. Let's take away the paper from underneath and I can see better. There we are. So there is our completed page. Gosh, that's perfect timing. Not only is it just over 30 minutes, which is what I think is a good length for a video, even though I know people have different ideas, but it's nearly lunchtime as well. By the time I've tidied up, it'll be lunchtime. So there we go. I hope that was okay. I had a lot of fun. And oh, last thing you could do is on the bee's wings, where there are the black lines, you could go over them in a white, but I've got so much wet gel pen, I'm certainly not going to try that, and I'm not going to do it, but you might want to, just to make them stand out and look a little bit more see-through and sort of light. But anyway, that's me. So there we go. So I hope that was okay. That was one of the requests of pages I've had, or books I've had. I've got a few more to work on, so that's good. I've got a little list, so I cross things out as I go. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a super day, and tomorrow, completed pages. So tune in for that one. I know a lot of you do. So thank you and happy colouring.